Hi everybody, my name is Jim with Full Moon Adventure Club, and today I'm going to be showing you what I did to renovate my rear bedroom in my old 1982 Ford Jamboree motorhome, so that it went from its very water damaged state that looked like this to this. Okay, so before we get into this repair video, this is what I did, and it's not going to be a total step-by-step with absolutely everything I did, but it's a pretty decent overview and I think you'll enjoy it. Now, before I get into the video, this is not a professional repair, because if you took this into a dealership or something, they probably wouldn't work on it because it's a 1982 and with a lot of problems, so they probably would have refused. But if they did, they would probably insist on removing the exterior walls, the interior walls, the cabinets, possibly the roof. Everything would have just been redone. I didn't have time or money for that. I just wanted to inspect, see what was going on with the walls, try and repair it the best I could, stop any further water damage, and make it look nice and usable so that we could take it on our trip. You also want to inspect for mold, which I did, and I didn't find any despite all the obvious water damage that had been coming in from those two back windows. So that might be another issue. If you have mold, you really have to get that taken care of. I found zero signs of that. So this is just the simple repair I did to stop the damage from getting any further and fix it the best I could, and I thought you guys might really enjoy that. So without further ado, let's get into it. So here we are in the back wall, and as you can see, it does have a lot of water damage near the back window, which was where most of the water was coming from, is from those windows. And upon further inspection, you can see just how bad this was. We never really used the back bed too often before this restoration. We were sleeping in the over cab. So first thing you're going to want to do is try and remove these screws from your window. And basically this is a little casing that sandwiches the outer window to the inner window. And if you have to, you might have to drill some of those out. Once you get all of those out, you should be able to remove the inner lining of the window. And don't forget to go ahead and remove any hardware for curtains as well that you see around. And we're basically just going to take a flat bar and a hammer and maybe a razor knife and just start removing all the damaged wall so that we can get to the insulation and everything underneath. So we're just going to go through, work our way through. There's really no right or wrong way to do this. You're just going to have to kind of go for it. And here you can see we're kind of making progress with the back wall. Once you get all the wall panels off, we're going to have to do something about some of this rust, because I do have, this metal frame. So we're going to be using a rust wheel, and we're just going to go to town on this thing until we get as much rust as possible off. Definitely recommend a respirator or a really good mask for this, because it's going to fill that RV with dust. So now we're going to be using some rust inhibitor. It's just regular old Rust-Oleum rust inhibitor, and it's supposed to kind of stop it in its tracks. And this is just going to be basically applied. You have to tape everything off that you don't want to get this on, and your windows, everything. And this is after I've sprayed all the metal that I possibly can. And now you're going to apply some liquid nails to kind of reattach or put in your new insulation. Mine is foam. There was no mold, so I was able to actually just reuse mine. And then I would highly recommend getting some spray foam and just going to town on all these little cracks, because they do a terrible job at the factory of filling all these small voids and cracks. So you're just going to want to fill that pretty much anywhere they see cracks. You may as well just go ahead and upgrade your insulation a little bit, fill in some of those gaps. Wait for that foam to completely dry overnight or however long it takes. And then you're going to want to come back in there with a razor knife and just go ahead and cut it nice and flush and remove any excess. Once you're done with that, you're going to want to start taking measurements, very detailed measurements, to put these new panels in. And it's going to end up looking, something like this, so that then you can go ahead and use a chalk line. You can even use one of the window cutouts, that the frames that you pulled out, to go ahead and do your window line to help you get those little corners and edges all done. So it's a pretty complicated cut, and that's how I did the back. But I'm going to go ahead and cheat and use some footage from a different project that I did doing the front overhead cab, and you can use heavy-duty construction paper and maybe cut that out, or cardboard for complicated cut areas, to make sure that you get it just right. And that's a pretty good method. So you can just kind of cut that out, make sure it fits exactly, and then you simply transfer that onto your wood paneling and then mark it all out. And when you got straight edges, use your level or anything to make sure you have nice straight edges. Trace that completely out and then cut it out with a jigsaw or whatever saw you prefer, but a jigsaw is probably going to be the way to go. So this was on the front cab video that I did, and I'll be cheating with some of this footage because I really didn't capture everything from the back renovation. But here you're going to go ahead and put on, I used liquid nail all over the metal and the foam, just pretty much in a general liberal amount everywhere. And then we're going to go ahead and fit in our piece and make sure that that is good to go. You kind of want to check it for fit before you do all the liquid nails just to make sure, but I've already done that. So we're going to put that into place. And don't forget, remember when we pulled that window off the frame here, which is great to be able to do if you can, then you have a little bit of leeway because it's going to cover some of the paneling that you put up and give you a really nice clean look. But while you have this off, what you really need to do is there's nothing holding that outer window on except any gasket sealant they used. So you might want to have a friend there in case it falls, but you might want to remove that, remove any other sealant they have, and then redo it with fresh silicone or a new gasket or whatever you choose, just to make sure that you stop any leaks and water infiltration on the outside. Then you push the window back, and when you put in that inner frame, it's going to squeeze the window together. And if you have your paneling up before that, which you need to do, then it's going to squeeze your paneling all around that window as well, which prevents us from needing to use clamps or things pressing against it or too many screws to hold it in place while that liquid nail really does its job. I did use a few screws, but for the most part, the window is holding that whole section on all by itself. And so you can kind of see that's a really nice clean edge right there now that we put the window back together and our piece is in place. And like I said, don't forget, that's what holds your window in, so you don't want to drop it when you take out those screws, and you're going to want to reseal everything. It's also important to use the same size screws as the ones that came out of the window if you damaged any in the process. You don't want them too short, you don't want them too long. And that, my friends, is how you go from this to this. And basically all we did after we had all the panels reinstalled and we let everything dry up is we reinstalled the little curtain covers, put in new curtains, and the new hardware for the curtains, and this little basket from Hobby Lobby. And that was really about it. And we've absolutely been loving this, huge improvement, and I just couldn't be happier with the end result. So there you go. This was actually a repair that I did about a year ago, and I haven't had time to share it with you. So I hope it gives you some great ideas, sends you in directions or ways to go about smaller repairs, or you know what's entailed, and that helps you out in some way. I really hope it does. If it did, please like, share, subscribe. That really helps me out. I also have an Amazon link down below. For any of your Amazon shopping, you pay the same. I get a small commission. Easy way to help the channel for free. We also have a Patreon and a bunch of other cool stuff with exclusive content down below in the description. So, my name is Jim with Full Moon Adventure Club, and until the next video, thank you so much for watching, and happy camping.